think Florida, for the large part, has better football players.
It really
than
don't matter
Louisiana.
because both our teams got
What up, my dog? Ain't nothing, boy. Good to see you, family.
both our teams got the ass
Man, I
beat.
don't know if I'm running up on you, bro.
Pete Cola,
That's right.
Learn from the best, man.
Pete
Florida in the
Cola
house, man.
But
Y'all
yeah,
know.
Freddie T, I think like Louisiana's smaller than Florida. So we have, especially like recently, we've had a ton of good football players. But I think when you talk about Florida for decades, to me, Florida's been like the #1 state when it comes to like top level football players. It's why like back in your day though, the Florida State, Miami games were what they were because all them boys stayed home.
Yeah, they stay home. Now they kind of branch out all over the place. But, you know, you always were able to sprinkle in players from other places. Louisiana always had dogs.
Ike.
South Carolina, Georgia. All these places definitely in the South, you know, had amazing players. You got a lot of your quarterbacks and stuff. You poached them from California. But the meat, Texas, Georgia, Florida, you know, up there in the Panhandle in Pensacola, you know, down south. So
Freddie,
it's-
those are 3 states now. I don't know you're going to make Ryan feel good about himself. It's Cali for the little cute throwers, it's Texas for the big boys and the running backs, and it's Florida for the fast dudes. Historically, those are the 3 states that have football players. That's it.
Well,
That's it.
Okay.
Just
Well,
top
Trent-
3 is Florida, Texas, California.
Trent Richardson has sat down. We'll have that conversation at another time.
Hold up, limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Limitless. Take a stomach, got pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant.
Man, Trent, welcome.
I love the conversation.
Yeah, I know.
I
Welcome.
want to get in on that.
We'll continue to have it.
I'm rooting
Fred
for
Taylor, Channing Crowder. I'm Ryan Clark, Pivot fam. Thank you for pivoting with us. This is The Pivot, a part of Fanatics. Here with Trent Richardson. Trent, Doak Walker, award winner, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Heisman finalist, 3rd overall pick of the Cleveland Browns. I think a list of accolades that anybody who loves the Crimson Tide, or like myself who hates them, you know.
Makes sense.
I should. We know those things. But it was something you said, man, a quote from you that I thought people should hear right away. It's when you were with the Birmingham Iron of the AAF, or there's a Alliance of America Football League, and they ask you, if you could give your younger self advice, what would you say? And the first thing out of your mouth was, learn to say no earlier. Of all the advice you could have given yourself, why would learn to say no earlier be what you would have told a young Trent Richardson?
Simple fact is because I got a big heart. And me coming from where I came from, my mom had 3 kids. She raised 11 by herself. And so, and my grandma, you know, was down alone. You know, my grandma worked city bus 30-some years until I retired her. And so for me, man, like that's all I knew was love. If I had it, you got it. And so that's one thing Coach Saban used to always say, man, the only thing I'm worried about you is going to the next level is your heart. It's so big. And so for me, man, I had to learn that in order for me to take care of my kids, I got to take care of myself first. And I didn't, as a kid at that time, 20, 21 years old, you know, I didn't. If I got it, you got it. I'm literally giving folks the shirt off my back over some of my shoes. Like I go places, see kids ain't got shoes, and that was just me. And that's the gentle side of me, right? But as you get older and you become more of a professional, you learn different traits and different secrets in life to where, oh, I did that, I ain't going down that path again. Or I tried that ain't really work out. Or you know what, that might not be my time. And so saying no for me, man, is huge because it's hard. It's hard when you got people out there that you don't know who life that you can change by taking a picture or writing something down. And it's crazy. I got some on my Instagram now of Robbie, quarterback at Auburn. He went to Utah. He playing, I think he's at Utah now, but he went to Oregon. But just me taking a picture of him when he was a baby, like it changed his life. Like we got a picture of him when he was like 6 years old. I was coming out the basketball gym. I think it was when I had been an Alabama-Auburn basketball game. Went there, to help, represent and all this other stuff. And I think it was like one of those times when I was at the award shows. Come out, a group of people want a picture. Dad was like, nah, don't worry about it, man. I pulled the kids to the side, took a picture with him. Years later, this kid is getting recruited by Oregon, Alabama, Auburn. And he showed me the picture and, we talked about it. And it's one of them things that, man, you never know.
For you to say that, what are some of the yeses that you look back and a lot of guys that were in your possession, you went number 3, bruh. You went over Freddie. So this might be the first person that got drafted higher than Fred got drafted in the history of the show. The Ole Miss run everybody talks about. Like we know, we remember what you was. Those yeses that made you say, I need to say no earlier.
Oh man, like I wouldn't have started a kennel.
A what?
A dog kennel. Like I rebreed bullies. And me being from Florida, that's something in the South you do, right? Like dog breeds and stuff like that. And I love dogs. Like I wouldn't have did that. Or I wouldn't have, bought some stuff that I know I didn't want. But because my family seen certain type of stuff, and not blaming nothing on them, but I went and got it. Or just because it was a friend of the family, I made sure it happened. But it's certain type of stuff to where it's like, them type of yeses was like, man, think about yourself. Or think about your kids. That I didn't get that early on. It's never a right or wrong way to do it. I think it's the experience that you have when you go through those.
Mm-hmm. So Trent, it's good to see you in a good mindset. We know all too well, 87% of the guys after they leave the NFL, they're divorced within 3 years or filing bankrupt or any of those things. So one, from me to you, I'm glad to see that you're well, because a lot of these guys can have mental issues that eventually lead to their demise. But I firmly believe that everything happens to us for a reason, right? You got to go through something to figure out that person who you really are, that person you were destined to be. With those experiences, is there anything you regret?
I had to say, man, I don't regret none of it, because it's kind of like, when you talk about your ancestors, like they had to go through that for we can have this. Like it's a lot of stuff that y'all went through that we didn't have.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff at Bama going on right now that I know that we didn't have. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff that you did, stuff that you did. You know what I'm saying? Before I got to the league.
Right.
And even when we went to the lockout, my last year in college, y'all did that for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and y'all didn't have to do that. Man, there's a lot of stuff, man, that I can say that, man, I might have did a little different, but I wouldn't have changed the result.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like I was gonna always be that person that's gonna be in the community. I was gonna always be that person that was gonna stand up for, what was right. That was just me. That's just how life is just ingrained in me, that you are a pleaser, you like to get stuff handled, and growing up, that's how you felt like that was the definition of a man. So, and it's just like now, like people don't realize, like I've always had my kids, even when I was in college. Like my kids has always been, with me. And Fred, T, we talk, me and Fred, man, that was my idol, still is, idol. That was my mentor. I remember my rookie year, I was calling you about, sign these cards. Like, man, go ahead and sign them cards. I wish I would have did it. Like, man, I left so much money on the table, man. And it was stuff like that. Like, we need the OGs. We need people like us that went through it, that had the ups and downs in the game. That's gonna tell you the truth. So you need the Bo Jacksons. You need all that. Like, if you don't have that, man, as a rookie, especially you go high, top 5, top 10, are you going to the worst teams? You're going to the worst situation. And if it don't fit your playing style, it is what it is. And they're going to write it off.
Trent, I want to get back to the OG statement.
Yeah.
When you were talking about what you knew, your upbringing, you mentioned who your mother was.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned what your grandmother did her entire life. You didn't mention your father.
Mm-hmm.
You went to see your father once he was sick, and you said that you had no hatred toward him. What were the effects of not having him around, not having those tutelage, and how did your father's absence affect you into the man you grew to be?
I think for me, man, I look at everything like this. Man, maybe if I had the access to him, I wouldn't have been here. My daddy was a dog. He was what he was, but he was a good human. Like for me, I don't look at it as me being a parent. Like, man, I'm about to have an 18-year-old next month. And so for me, man, like looking at, what pushed me and drove me to make sure I'm around, making sure that I'm in my kid's life, making sure that I'm available as an uncle, For me, like me and my brother had our kids at the same time. He is a couple weeks, before me. And so when my mom first told me about it, man, I didn't know what she was talking about. I thought she was talking about, my brother kid. And so, what we was end up doing, man, we was able to raise my brother's child. It's still, he's still growing today. We're able to raise my child. And I was able to take my child and my brother's child over to my dad's side before he passed. And so that was big for me. Like, hatred for me, man, I just can't. Like, it's too much wasted energy.
Trent, what is that conversation like to not have your father in your life, to develop this village of raising children, whether it's Terrell's kids, your kids, and be able to say, I'm gonna bring my brother's kids and my kids to say goodbye to a man that I never really knew and that they don't know?
It was different because I was trying to get as much as I can, with him. And I was there every day on his side. And for me, like my brother was off to college. And so for me, man, to be there, it meant a lot to me. It felt like I knew him my whole life, even though he couldn't talk, even though he couldn't say anything. But like me, just I can hear spirit. And like people don't realize, man, it's not always the situation that we think. It's not always the situation of the dad don't want to be there. Like, and I'm not saying that, it was nothing wrong with, my mom or anything like that, but you never know what their relationship was. And so, I tell people all the time, man, like, what they know is between them. But when it comes to those kids, like, for me, like, my dad didn't do anything to my kids. He ain't, if he was there, maybe, it would have been a different outcome. Maybe they wouldn't be in there. But for me, man, the best thing for me at the age that I was at and the path that I was going down was to have my daughter.
As you talk about it, man, I kind of think about me and my dad, because my mom and dad got divorced when I was 9. Then I moved to Atlanta, and it was like, you know what I'm saying? And then I even joke about it when I talk. I'm like, man, stop. The mama say the daddy ain't shit, the daddy say the mama ain't shit, and you the little kid sitting in the middle looking back and forth at, you know what I'm saying, and all that. Your love for kids and your love for your kids, but also your love for all these kids. We sit in your facility. Did that come from that, where I'm a strong black father now, and I can now be an influence on people and the influence you didn't have? Because I really think that's why I'm so gung-ho about this fatherhood stuff that I'm going through, is because I did not have that male figure.
One of the biggest things that my mom did for us, right, she never talked bad about my father. I've never heard anything bad about him. I've never, anytime, actually when my dad was on his dying bed and my mom, was sitting there saying, if he needs somebody there, let her know. And that's just their relationship. They was always cool, you know what I mean? Like I never really knew him like that, but they was cool. But for me, building facilities, being able to, be available to these kids, like it's always been huge, man, because what my mom did, like I've seen her, we go with chicken and rice, or, and she makes something out of nothing. Like Christmas, Thanksgiving, like how do a single parent that comes off the street, feed 11 kids, and only 3 on hers? Like she had her doors open for everybody, man. And so being able to see that and having coaches around me, like those are my father figures. Like my brothers was my father. I'm the youngest in the house. And like I tell people all the time, I'm the runt of the family at that. So I was the one that was, and as fun as that sound, right?
Yeah. Brother played DN or something.
Brother played DN 6'6".
Yeah.
My other brother was 6'4". And so, and like, man, my grandma 6'2", 6'3". So like it's, for me, I was the runt. My granddad was 6'6". It's one of them things that, man, just being able to touch people's heart, to change their situation, or to give them type of hope, give them something to fight for. Like that self-talk, Like a lot of kids don't have that motivation for themselves no more. For me to say a black parent, a black father, I try to put a stop on the black part because I'm a great father. I don't care if I'm black, white, yellow, Hispanic, whatever it is. Don't put that label on me because we run this. We've been doing this. Like don't like, and I'm not, no, that's not no, it's nothing to you, but it's like we gotta stop putting ourselves in saying that, as a black, yeah, it's history. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's all that, but at the same time, it's like we've been doing this. Like this is us. This is what we do.
I love that.
Trent, is this your sanctuary, your safe space?
I think being around kids and helping people out for me, like to give back. Like people think it's always got to be money, like the wisdom. Like you don't know how much you gave back to me when you was talking to me before the games and just checking up on me and stuff like that. Like to hear that type of stuff, man, it means more than anything. And one thing about being around these kids out here, man, it's more of they don't want to let me down. Like I ain't got to do all the yelling. I ain't got to do all that. Like to know that I'm passionate for these kids and they know how much time I put in for them, and with them, like I get out here and work out with these kids. Like I get out here, and show them like, hey, if I'm doing this at my age, you can do it. Or the older kids, I put my little kids out there and show them, hey, if these little kids doing it, y'all should be able to do this. And I let them know, like, bro, y'all talking to a man who didn't walk for 2 years in high school, who couldn't play football. Only sport I did all 4 years was track. And like, I had 2 kids in high school. A lot of people don't realize that. So I had a fight every day. And on top of taking my younger cousins that my mom adopted to the school before I went to school.
Trent, when you had your first baby, you were on crutches.
Yeah.
Your ankles are bad. You don't know if you're ever going to be a football player at all, but a good one. I can't imagine being a sophomore in high school, walking into a hospital to see my daughter be born. At that point in your life, with all that had going on, growing up in Pensacola and, knowing what poverty is, right? Knowing what the drug game is, knowing about having to sometimes go outside of what's legal, go outside of what's a societal norm to provide, and saying to myself, I want to be a good father, I want to be a good man. Explain to me the thoughts of a high school sophomore with bad ankles, with a dream of playing football, walking in to see his baby girl for the first time.
The most scariest thing in the world for me, because at the same time, like, I'm 16. And when you get that phone call, man, like I remember like it was yesterday, and I know exactly what I was doing, where I was. It was October, it was cold, it was about the fair time in Pensacola for us. People don't know, like we used to deliver phone books to make money. Me and my mom and my brothers and stuff, and newspapers sometimes too, but we delivered like phone books all the time. Every year around about October, around about the fair time to get extra money. And it was one of them things that I couldn't walk. And so my brother let me use his car because my mom's car, she had a number of phone books stacked in there. So we was them kids, when you pull up to school, they take you to school, you pull up the door, the phone books are falling out the doggone van. So my brother had a car, man. I went up there, man, and I called my best friend. And I said, Brian, man, it's that time. And they're like, man, you good, man? You want to come get me? He had a game the next day. It was on a Thursday. He had a game the next day. And I was like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm going to go. So I get, into the room. I crutch up the doggone. I get to the elevator, get up in there. And it's crazy. I'm going to show you the scene. And it's kind of like this. And the first person you see is Rakishi. My kids are Rakishi nieces and nephews. And so to see this big old joker come out this room, or to be in this room, as a big bear, and to see Keish first, and you see Umaga, which is Eki, Rakishi's younger brother, rest his soul. But to see all these big Samoans, and you see my family over here too, but you see all the family and the love, like my family beat me up there. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of them things to where we was prepared as a family for the moment, but we still didn't know how this was gonna, go down. Because, in the Samoan culture, the grandparent get the kid and raise them. And so, as a parent, I'm like, nah, we ain't doing that. Like I gotta be a part of my daughter's life, and they respected that. Like I gotta be like, that's me. I can't let this Nah, I take care of my responsibility. My mom already had told me, like, either you gonna work or you gonna make this football stuff happen. Like this was my A to Z. It wasn't no A to B. It wasn't no plan B. This was it for me.
You ain't believe in rubbers in high school? How you just like, I understand this beautiful story, but you just kept making babies. Like, I can tell you how not to make a baby.
I tell you what, man, when you can't walk and you sitting on the couch all day and now she, come to take care of you, you already know what's finna go down. You can't, you sitting in one spot.
He couldn't walk, but he can sit in. Hey, Chan, he can stretch
that
out
leg.
There ain't no difference than you. You had the COVID, baby. You was in the
You had
house.
the COVID, baby.
I got a 4-year-old. I got a 13, 11, and 4-year-old because we was sitting in the house too long. And I said,
That's what it was.
we at the house. We might as well do a little something. Hell, they in virtual school. So
You couldn't take your trips, huh?
You say your mom say this football thing, it got to work out if the other thing doesn't. But at that moment, man, you just took, you put your whole entire family, your lineage on your shoulders and you made it happen. Even knowing the pressures, knowing where you come from, just to be able to go and do the things you did at Alabama, to put yourself in position to be selected 3rd overall, regardless of all the other stuff that happened. For that moment, you said, I'm going to be the guy that jumps out here and makes sure, I take care of my family. How much pressure was it on you to have that mindset and then to be able to go and eventually make it happen?
Pressure, man. It's too much for somebody that was 16 and going to the same school as Emmitt Smith and having the same running back coach as the head coach as Emmitt Smith had. And then he still coached Derrick Brooks too. So you got 2 Hall of Famers that's been coached by the same guy. So he know what it looked like how practice is supposed to be, like how training is supposed to be, like weightlifting class, like your schedule, your football schedule. He knows what all that looked like. And the craziest thing, man, the first time I met him, it was different for me because I never had a Caucasian guy talk to me like this. And what he was doing to me, man, he was mentally getting me strong. So I remember the first time, man, he told me I wasn't gonna play running back. He said I was gonna just play safety. So I went through the whole spring, didn't play no running back. And he was like, you gotta earn it. He was like, you can sit out the spring or you can play. He said, but you still gonna have to earn it. Cause he had heard, the talks, he had seen, he actually came back to coach me. They fired my first 2-year coaches, Coach Gillen, Coach G, and it was great guy, took care of everybody. But they, went and hired Jimmy Nichols, and I played 2 plays in the spring at running back, scored both plays. And I looked at him, said, Coach, you sure ain't gonna be no running back? And my cousin was the running back at the time, right? And we was always 1 and 2. But I had that little chip on my shoulder, like, man, I can't let you beat me out type. And he been there all spring, and I think he was tired or something had happened. I went in there 2 plays, scored both plays. I said, Coach, you sure you don't be no running back? He looked at me, shook his head and smiled. I said, all right.
You drafted 3rd overall. You actually break some of Jim Brown's, Cleveland Browns, rookie rushing records, and you're traded in your 2nd year. You're sitting there and you're taking stock of being where you were probably a year and a half, 2 years prior. You've now learned that through family, through decision making, in a year, people around you have spent $1.6 million of your money. You buy a house that has multiple people living in it, and none of those people, at least at the time, are even your kids. And sitting there, man, being like, I was drafted 3rd overall. I was traded in my 2nd year. People around me spent $1.6 million of my money, and now I'm taking care of all of these folks in this house while trying to play football. At that moment, how are you dealing with your circumstances?
It's almost like, being traded, right? That was it for me. Like, I couldn't stand football after that. Like, I didn't want to watch football. If I did watch ball, it was going to be Bama. Like, I didn't watch no NFL. I didn't want to watch Sports Center. Like, I didn't want to watch none of it. Like, I didn't want to even be a part of it. Because my whole life I played the game because I loved it. And so when it became a job and you get traded, I'm like, hold on, I know I'm the best player on this field. Like I just put up 1,000 in rushing. Like, I didn't even get to play. I played, 950 my rookie year, and they didn't let me finish the last game against y'all. And I played with 2 knee surgeries that year, and I had, I think, 3 or 4 broken ribs that year. I played 12 games with broken ribs as a rookie. And so for me, man, when I got traded, I'm like, bro, I'm giving this program my all. I'm making appearances. I'm showing up to all the, the community events. I'm doing everything I can. And so when I get traded, I was in the building. I didn't even get the phone call. Like, I was in the building. Like, we was getting ready to pay Agent Peterson. We was getting ready to play Minnesota. I was ready to go to battle. It's the first time I get to see him play, in person. And, that was a big brother to me. And, we always had our little competition going, And so for me, man, I was ready to go. Like, that Wednesday, and I remember like it was yesterday, I get the phone call from my partner, and he say, man, you been traded to the Colts. I'm like, man, get off my phone. I turn the radio up. Trent Richardson has been traded to the Colts. Huh? First person I talked to was Joe. And he was apologizing. He was telling me, man, you're going to do great stuff, man. I don't know how this happened. And, just stuff like that, man. And Joe always been our guy, one of the best trainers ever, man. But it was one of them things to where, like, football wasn't the same for me, bro. Like, and as a kid, like, I didn't get man, this is business. Like, you're a transaction. Like, I didn't get that part of it. So football, like, for me, I hated every bit of it, especially my second year in the Colts uniform, and we're passing the ball averaging 55 times a game. And we only averaging 5 runs a game. And that's between me, Andrew Luck, and Ahmad Bradshaw. And so it was one of them things like, how can I even get in the groove to even, because a running back, it got to be the flow of the game. Like, you can't just break a run every play. You know what I'm saying? It got to be hit, like a punch. Hit the punch. Then that big bruiser comes, you get the knockout.
Right.
So that's how, a running back plays his game.
Hey, fellas, you ever felt just a sense of uneasiness when you leave your crib, like something's gonna happen?
I remember having my vehicle stolen.
Yeah.
And that was the worst feeling ever. I mean, someone came in my yard and took a car. When all of that happened, I knew I needed something. I knew I needed something to keep my family safe. So now that I have Simply Safe, I can look through my phone, I can monitor everything. I get instant alerts. The response is quick, few seconds, so I'm good.
After we started all this traveling, I did the research and I found Simply Safe. Man, the live monitoring, anything that happens, I can speak. If I see somebody outside the door with Simply Safe, I can talk to the intruder right there. Don't do that. 5 seconds protection. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just love it. And right there on your phone, man, it makes me feel good for my baby to be in the house, my wife to be in the house with Simply Safe.
It's easy to install and activate your Simply Safe system in less than an hour, or choose a professional installation to have a pro do it for you.
You're not locked into no long-term deal. It's $1 a day for the safety of your family. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can be anywhere in the world. I can log into the app and I can have a sense of control of what's happening at my house, but more importantly, a sense of security. I mean, there's really no safe like Simply Safe.
Simply Safe has been named Best Home Security System by U.S. and World News for now 5 years running. Everybody knows about Simply Safe. Get you one. It's my babies. I want to protect your babies too.
Protect your home with 50% off with a new Simply Safe system, plus the free security camera when you sign up for Fast Protect monitoring at simplysafe.com/pivot. That's simplysafe.com/pivot.
There's no safe like Simply Safe.
So many reasons I took a liking to you when we played the same position. We're both from Florida. I didn't always like the fact that you went to Bama, but I was still a fan, of your ability and what you did on the field. But other reasons are the similarities, and things that happened to both of us. Yeah. My agent took advantage of me earlier on. I had a $5 million signing bonus. $3 million, $2.5 million went into an offshore account, which eventually became a Ponzi scheme. And this is after my rookie year. So now I'm dealing with some success on the field, but I also have to deal with the fact that this man just stole majority all of the money I just signed for. So then the injuries start happening. So now I got to deal with the money problem and the injuries in football being taken away from me. That was a thing that when we started talking and we developed a friendship, I said, I want to do my best to try and look out for him, to try and help him avoid some of the pitfalls. But the hardest thing for me, I became a bit depressed. You know, I started developing like these just overthinking and these mental issues or what have you. But Jacksonville, they went and hired a sports psychiatrist for me, and Trevor Mowat, who passed away a couple years ago due to cancer. But Trevor kind of put my head in a safe space, which allowed me to kind of get out of that funk. For you, how did all of that stuff that happened to you with the family, with football being taken away, being traded, how did it affect your mental? How tough was it?
Man, it was a lot, because you got to think about it. I had Trevor, too. When we, Coach Saban, hired Trevor to come, be with us, too. I didn't have none of that when I left. Like, I didn't have the Dr. Echoes. I didn't have the Trevor. I didn't have the Wizard. Like, I didn't have none of them guys. And so you got to think about it. I'm around a whole bunch of people that's immature to stuff, too. Mm-hmm. Like, we never had money. We never had this type of success. Like, we'd never been traded. Like I was mature to a lot of stuff. And so for me, man, like, I didn't have an out, man. I would go home, bro, and get my kids in the room and shut the door. Knocking on the door. You want something to eat? Nah, I'm good. But it was one of them things to where it's like, man, like, football for me became my biggest nightmare. You know how we say that's my biggest dream? Like, that became my biggest nightmare because of the relationship part with my family, the relationship part with just realizing, like, when they say faith, family, football, they mean you have faith in us in this building. And we your family. And you gonna play our football that we finna pay you for. Wow. And so I didn't get that at that point, right? And so I'm still a kid in the mind. And it's just like, bro, like, it just took everything from me. But, like I said, man, you learn different ways to get through stuff. And so for me, I never turned to drugs, never did that, I don't even drink. And so, man, like, imagine getting messed with about weight, right? I'm 232 with only 4% of body fat. How can I lose weight? And now y'all trying to make this a thing, man. Have you ever been in a dang complex and your GM tell you that you dead to me?
Who was the GM at that time?
Ron Gritson.
Wow.
He says you're dead to me.
Yeah, said the same thing about Dirty. But he told me he said that about him. Like, how can I play for somebody like that? And it's just like, bro, like, why did y'all come get me?
What was the context of a conversation where Ron Gritson would say, "You're dead to me"?
So when I first meet the guy, he go and say, man, I'm that guy that, when I meet, I don't want nobody talking to him. I don't want nobody messing with me. All right, cool. All right, that's you. And so year one would go by, year was, up and down. So we going into the second year. And it wasn't a year that it was just like I was just doing bad. Bro, our center was 274, 6 foot tall. Andrew was getting hit when I was there 10 times a game. When I left, he was getting hit 25 times a game. And not now one time I gave up a sack. You know what I'm saying? And so it was one of them things to where it's like, that we didn't have the offensive line for the offense that you're talking about. Y'all go back and go hire Andrew Luck, offensive coordinator from Stanford. And so, like he told me, that's all I know is Andrew. And a lot of stuff is over my head. And so, man, you get that context of, we're sitting there having this conversation of going, the expectations. And he said and telling me, man, yeah, if the season don't go like it's supposed to, we're gonna pull the bullet. And as of right now, you dead to me. This was before the season even happened. He said, yeah, LeRon, he dead to me too. I told Dirty, he dead to me.
We had, it's crazy, Jamarcus Russell too. We had him on, I don't know if you saw the show, and we were talking about people calling it bust, and Jamarcus felt a certain way about that. Well, now just hearing you talk about your path and the way you saw Cleveland to Indy and all of that stuff, could you have been, you talking about Emmitt Smith from Pensacola, from your high school, like, could you have been Emmitt if you was in a different situation?
Man, I tell you what, send me to Seattle. Send me to Dallas. As a matter of fact, keep me in Cleveland. Like, I was doing good in Cleveland. Like, ball wasn't coming away every play. And then, it's expected to happen. But at the same time, like, stuff was working. Like, but it's one of them things to where, like, man, when you come from Bama or a place at that time where it was big time, like say like Georgia today, they expect you to come in and be a 5-year vet. Like that's the gift and the curse that come with it. And you know, we got to live up to it. I get it, but at the same time, man, I'm still only 20, getting into the league. You know what I'm saying? Like we talk about, you know, success stories, but and this is no knock to my young fella Derek, and I love Derek to death. But Derek first 2 or 3 years, it wasn't the Derek, the king that we know right
Derrick
now.
Henry.
Right.
Yeah, and so they had to put the pieces around him and go get that, you know, for him to be successful like he done had his career so far. But them first 2 or 3 years, I mean, even with Marshawn, right? Like Marshawn didn't have a bad career with the Bills, but they was trying to get rid of Marshawn. And he go to Seattle, and they got the right program around him that fits him, and Marshawn is beast mode.
Yeah.
And so, man, like you
I think really in all fairness, like when you look at, historically you look at the draft, if you're drafted in the top 5 picks, you are going to go to a bad team, right? You have to play extraordinarily, like exceptional in order to try and help lift that team out. And it ain't a 1-year thing, it ain't a 2-year thing, sometimes it's a 3-year thing. You know, unfortunately for you and your situation, I mean, you had a great rookie year. You know, you broke one of my favorite backs of all time, Mr. Jim Brown, rest in peace. You broke a lot of his rookie records, and that says a lot for me. But you didn't necessarily have the pieces around you. Then you're in a division where you got to play twice a year, Super Bowl champ, Pittsburgh Steelers. You got to play the Baltimore Ravens. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're coming into that. You got to play Cincinnati, which at the time still had a really good team. So the odds weren't necessarily in your favor, you know, in that sense, to succeed. Then you had some people that prematurely, I believe, pulled the trigger a bit too soon before they gave you an opportunity to really go out there and see what you were going to turn out to be. Then you compound all of that with family stealing from you. Mental stuff going on, you know, and having a dislike for the game. So I try to look at stuff holistically and give people a chance. I would love to be able to see, you know, a Trent Richardson drafted in the middle of the draft, you know, where you might go to a team that had a pick from the previous year, a good team that made the playoffs or something like that. Now, I always admired your ability to play football, to play the running back position. And not making any excuses for you. It's just I would obviously love to see you in a better start, having a better start in the NFL. But a lot of times it's not about the start. Like I said earlier, you have to go through something in order to get to that point to realize who you really are and who you are meant to be. And I think in this space, what you're doing for the children, having that type of heart, you know, I think is just great for our community. I think your personal growth shines through all of that, the resilience of having gone through the ups and downs of being a guy who was a top pick and now being in a really good mindset with the opportunity to give back to people that come from the sort of backgrounds that you, a lot of us come from. I think that's the blessing in all of it, man. So I want to say just push that. Because you're going to be blessed 10 times over by the way these kids that you're pushing to be good human beings. That's where your true blessing is going to come from.
How in the hell somebody spent $1.6 million of your money and you not know it? I didn't know that story. 1.6, bro?
Well, you got to think about this, bro.
10 months.
That's crazy.
You got to think about this. When you got your money people and stuff like that, or when you trust it. Like, and at that time, like, you don't really have time to really pay attention to that stuff because I'm young. I'm trying to figure the playbook out. Man, I had 3 different offensive coordinators less than 14, 15 months. So they got rid of Pat Sherman now. They bring in, from Carolina. They bring in that group the next year. Then I get traded. I had to learn the coach stuff, and they had over 300, different packages. And so, like, man, you don't have time. Like I said, bro, I was in Indianapolis, I was in Cleveland Wednesday practicing. Wednesday night, I'm in Indy practicing Thursday with the Colts. And I'm playing Sunday, and Ahmad Bradshaw go down. And so they only dressed 3 running backs. Me and Brown and Ahmad Bradshaw. And Bradshaw went down, so I don't know none of the plays. I'm just going off total instinct. And we playing San Fran, and I'm talking about they got them 2 linebackers. Y'all know who they is. They coming full force.
Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman.
Man, what? Coming full force.
Yeah.
And I got to go in there and save the day because in the beginning of the game, Ahmad go down. And I don't know nothing.
But it goes back, Channing, he said it, trust.
Yeah.
It's trust. Back in those days, it was easy for a financial guy to say, you focus on football. We're going to focus on this over here. But that's why I love your story, because it helps the other young men that are in the league right now, in that position. It helps them see it. Plus, nowadays, the technology, they can just open a thing. These guys are getting $50 million. They can open it and see the money everywhere. Back in those days, it wasn't necessarily always the case.
Man,
and
y'all
you
know back in
trusted
our
these
day.
people.
When you hear Trent Richardson is one of the biggest busts in NFL draft history, what do you think about that?
I laugh at it. Like how? Like it wasn't like I was playing bad. Like I just didn't have the tools. Like I wasn't playing bad. You look at when I got benched, right? I still led the lead and broke tackles after the contact for like 6 weeks after. And so like, bro, y'all don't realize like I'm not getting at nothing at the line of scrimmage, man. We get in the game, we go down 14-0. Now we in hurry up offense. And that's almost every game. Like we didn't have a really opportunity to run the ball when you look at it. But it's just like, bro, like when people talk like that, man, it's like y'all don't understand like how the draft work or how the process work. You gave me something one time, and I'm like, man, this is my dog. Like how he saying this? You said something. You had a high school player playing better than me. You were better than me. I'm like, what? Come on, bro.
RC, did you
What
really?
say?
So,
But it was one of them things that was like, bro, you know what? I'm gonna make sure
Yeah.
that this don't happen to my boys, right? I'm gonna make sure this don't happen to any of these kids that I train or, I'm around anytime, because like I'm gonna teach these kids early. Like it's a business. Like I get it. Play the game for the love, right? But at the same time, now these kids getting paid in high school now, right? So they get a chance to learn. They get a chance to, to see how to lose money. They get a chance to see how to handle money.
Yeah.
And everybody ain't so mature when they get to the NFL. You gotta think about it, bro. We 19, 20, we can't work. We hungry. In my sense, I had kids. I had to go. It wasn't no NIL. It wasn't no COVID years. I would have stayed 5 years if I was getting NIL. Not to,
Yeah.
So I do want to speak to that. It was my plan to end the show with it. It just came faster than I thought it did, because you actually noticed it or remember it. I was just going to apologize. I think first off, I want to say I'm sorry for saying that, because I've grown and matured enough to know now that not only do I not know everything that's going on football-wise, I don't know everything that's going on in the real lives of players. I don't know how that affects them mentally and emotionally, which in some point will affect them physically. As a young analyst, you look at stats, you look at yards per carry, and you say, okay, how can I say this without saying he's averaging this yards per carry to where it's entertaining, and the point comes across that statistically this is low. And I was more focused on the value of the entertainment than the value of the person. I've learned now, as I've grown, to never focus on the value of the entertainment over the value of the human, which is why I can walk in locker rooms and be received the way I am. When I reached out to you initially, it was to have the chance to look you in the face and say, I'm sorry for that. To say that you were a learning experience for me, because after I say that, I learned all of these other things about your life. You taught me that before I worry about what the film says or what other people are telling me is the reason a person isn't playing well, try to learn why the person isn't playing well, and in saying that they aren't, talk about what the film says, not what adds the most entertainment value. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad that didn't affect you in a way to where it's hindered your life going forward. But I also know that's not the case for everyone. I also know that you're stronger than what some people are to be able to have the sort of life you've had the sort of career you've had, and not internalize that as the truth about yourself. But I was wrong. And I am sorry. It doesn't take it away that I did it, but I do think and did think I owed you a face-to-face apology for doing something that downright in my position as a former player will always be wrong. And, you know, I appreciate you being so gracious to me to answer the DM, to give me your number, to allow us to be here and have this conversation with you, which I think is wholly important, not only for our platform, but for other people who see you and know who you are, but for me personally, to have an opportunity to say that. It was very important to me. And so I thank you for your grace. I thank you for the forgiveness. I thank you for being an adult in that manner. But to move forward, when you look back, and I know Fred asked you about regrets, I don't want to talk about regrets. I want to talk about what do you wish you knew about the business that could have helped you have a longer career? Because if you don't consider yourself a bust, what do you consider when you look at your career?
So, and I want to say I appreciate you, man, for that, man. Like, for real. Like, you know, at the end of the day, about that situation, when I looked at, he doing his job. Like, and he probably just looking at the numbers. Like, he probably ain't even watching the film.
Now I watched the film too.
But it's one of them things where you get hit in the backfield, what can you do? Like, look at it now. I mean, but what I would,
like, what do you think you were accountable for, Trent, in your career, right? Like,
so
you
for
told
me,
us
it's
about
everything.
Okay.
And I don't put blame on the situation and the program. It for me, it was me, because I didn't have that taught to me. And if it was, I wasn't listening. So when you got hundreds of people in one ear pulling at you and doing all the three people that's in that other ear that's telling you, like, hey, little bro or nephew, you don't need to do that right now. Or, man, that's them. Let them have that. You know, don't even buy into it. And so when you talk about a career for me, man, it's like, listen, when I'm out there on the field, I'm performing. Now, all the chips might not feel like I wanted to do, but it did what it's supposed to. Like, my timing was for me. So now I got a chance to teach my kid, my sons. I got a chance to teach my daughters when they get into their field. Like, this is the real world. Like, we've been playing football our whole lives. And so for us, it's just been, I ain't gonna say it's just been like playing football, but when we get to the real life, like, that's what kept me strong, my kids. Like, if I didn't have them around, bro, I'd probably gone. And I don't mean, I ain't saying just dead on some suicide stuff, but I'm talking about, like, mentally. Like, if I didn't have them, bro, them kids does so much justice for me. And to see that my child is a National Honor Society student. My kid is fit to graduate this year. Like, who can say that? You know what I mean? And the accomplishment that she done had. Both of my daughters, 11th and 12th grade. Like, people don't realize, like, I did that in high school. And I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm still here. And I have my kids by myself. And it's like, bro, it's a lot of parents that's not into their kids' life. And you can't say I'm one of them. And there's a lot of stuff that I have done in life, man, that you can't take away from me. Like, we talk about the compliments with the Heisman. I had them won. They put Honey Badger in at the last minute, and we had to split the South votes. And so that was one of them things was like, bro, that man, that's for the team anyway. Like, we're going to go get another trophy. It is what it is.
But to that point, though, like you saying, you was third in voting for the Heisman that year. Went number 3 overall. The money, I joke about it because I was projected to be a first-round pick. Got locked up a bunch of times, had knee injuries, so they took me in the third. If they'd have gave me $10 million on draft day, I'd probably be dead right now. because I was not ready to have that kind of money. Do you think going that high, getting that kind of money, having that prestige, do you think that had anything to do with it? If you went late first round or second round, would your career have been different? Because you're saying kind of the situation you in, but being 20, and I was young, I left as a gray shirt sophomore. So I was young too. I turned 21 in December 2nd. I got drafted that next May. Do you think being that young and having that money was something that affected your career? Because I could not have dealt with that kind of money at that age.
I think it affected the outside of my career around me. And so for me, like I was still gonna ball. I was still gonna play ball, but the stuff that was happening on around football, you never take what's going on at home into the workplace. I didn't understand that because it wasn't a job for me. And so whatever I had going on, like I was gonna take it out on the field. That's how I was gonna run you over. I was just gonna put your head on whoever body who did that in the game, and then we were gonna go at it. That's how I picked who was gonna be my subject of the day.
Yeah.
But it was just one of them things, man. Like it's not hard to talk about it now because it's like I went through that. That was my process. At the end of the day, like I tell my kids all the time, like you are your way out. Like it's on you. Whatever you do in life, your last name gonna be remembered. That's the only thing you can leave here with your name. All the jewelry and clothes, the YouTube, all that, like it don't matter. Like the compliments, like whatever your name you want it to be, is how you dress it up along your journey. And it's a marathon. It ain't no 100-yard meter. Like I had to figure that out. Like and at that age, like I don't think it was the money. I think it was the money to change the situation that was around me. Not going high like I did. I wish I would have, went to Temple, but
they jumped to get you now. We know the story.
it was crazy too, man,
Yeah.
because Coach had told me, said, man, if you still on the board, we're gonna come get you or Mark Barron. And Cleveland jumped to get me, and I was like, dang. But it was, for me, I was saying dang because my mom got lupus. And so for her, like, when it's too cold, like, she go paralyzed. And so when I told my mom, that was the first thing she said. I was like, oh, I'm mic'd up. We was in the green room. But she, that's the only thing she was thinking about, man. But, man.
Man, just sitting here hearing your entire story, being able to share with the people that are watching, what has been your biggest pivot in life?
I think overcoming, man. Like, overcoming the naysayers. Like the people that can talk mess, that's never been in your shoes, but like getting up every morning. Like, bro, I was getting up at 4 a.m. in high school and working out by myself with my baby in a car seat beside me. I'm talking about running up them sand dunes that everybody looked at on YouTube in the dark, no light. Like, I'm doing it. And so to say that, I was too fragile to make it to an SEC school or to play at Alabama. Like, I did that. I didn't know how good I was until I got to college. Because I never made it to a playoff game in high school. We could score 100 in offense, but I didn't play defense. So I never got a chance to see what the football world was outside the Panhandle. And it was great football down there. You talking about Alfred Morris, we all, down there, Doug Baldwin, and they played on the same Little League team. They were cheating.
They cheating in Bama too.
Nah, there you go. It was cool when y'all was doing it, though.
Oh, come on. Come on.
Man, listen, I remember your son, man, recruiting your son. And the mental, like his mental was so way farther than, his age to where I felt like I was talking to you and I had to realize, you young. Why am I talking to you like this? And so when you come on recruiting visits or when we was texting through, through the year, man, it'd be like, man, who Big Bro is? Like, he might be Big Bro at this point, Because he was just so complete as a human.
Yeah.
And like, I modeled a lot of stuff that I do off the field of how you handled your son. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So I appreciate you for that.
Man, we appreciate it, man. Like RC said, we appreciate you coming on with us, man. It's always a lesson in it. And hopefully, from the OG's mouth to the camera, these young boys, the younger guys, I don't want to call them boys, the younger men, will take something from it so they can avoid those, certain pitfalls. But eventually, the message, I think, will ring clear to a lot of them. So for me, man, I love the fact that you came on, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
We appreciate you, man. To the Pivot fam, thank you guys for pivoting with us one more time. Trent Richardson. My dog, appreciate you.
top 5.
Thank you, family.
Bama backs, but
Ooh, that would have been a good one too.
I think we gotta give them to me. Top 5. Your top 5 Alabama backs.
Without me in it,
I mean, hey, look,
No,
man.
you gotta include
You went to
yourself, if
Bama,
you
right?
think you're in there.
I mean, while in college.
yeah, definitely had to throw myself in there.
Okay.
Got to throw Shine in there. Mark, of course, what he's done.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs,
Yeah.
and you can't leave Derrick out.
That's
But a lot
list.
of people sleep on Josh Jacobs, man,
That's a
because he
list.
wasn't the starter. But Josh was probably to me, was the most closest thing to me that I've seen in a long time. Like Derrick did his thing, but he did his thing a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Josh didn't get the carries that
Yeah,
all
like-
of the bell cows that Alabama got, though.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't realize, like, my last year in school, I only played 2 whole games, and that was both of the LSU games. And so, like, I think my last year in school, I might have had 100 yards less, 100 carries less than what the Mark had his last year.
How did losing the game of the century motivate you to do what you did in the Sugar Bowl, though?
Man, I knew we were gonna win. Like, cause we let that slip, man. They kept taking me out in the reds. I'm like, well, y'all keep taking me. I'm not tired or nothing. And it was one of them games like, hey, we going down to the, semifinals and we last moment type stuff, man. And so that was the atmosphere, bro. I love to be in. But like losing that game, bro, it was just like, man, like we slipped. Like how we let this happen? Like it wasn't no playoffs.
Yeah.
So like, bro, we ain't finna get in this championship game. And coach was like, hey, we good. Y'all just keep working. He kept saying that. And then Oklahoma State lost. Oh, Justin Blackman, them lost. Then, man, that doggone, because we was here in Birmingham, because after the SEC game, we always do our banquet. So that doggone hotel, man, that hotel went off. That thing was lit. Yeah, man, but we knew we was gonna win.
Boy,
though.
I was all on TV saying Oklahoma State deserves to be in the
Yeah, I
championship.
heard you.
Hey, I already knew. Because if you watch the game, they missed like 3 field goals.
Yeah.
Eric Reed took the ball from the
We
tight
missed
end.
5.
Yeah, oh, it was 5?
Yeah, we missed 5.
Yeah,
field
and because
goals.
like I already knew. I was like, if they play again, I was like, one, I know we can't score.
Yeah.
I said, and they were driving the ball. They just didn't get it in the end zone.
Yeah.
Man, I was on TV. I was like, man, no, Oklahoma State deserves
We
it.
drove
We don't
every
need 2
time.
SEC teams.
That's how the playoff happened though. Like
Yeah.
from that game, like the playoffs happened from that game because they didn't want to see them 2 SEC schools in there like that.
It was 21-0, but you the only person that scored though, huh?
Yeah. When we played the Steelers my rookie year, I had scored the game-winning touchdown. He was in the hole.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you gave
And
him
I-
that. You gave him that. Yeah.
Nah, he gave me one of these. It's on there.
I will get the film. It will tell you what
Right.
happened.
It's on there.
We
Nah,
had
it was-
the end on the show.
Hey, it was
Hey, it's on
5.
there.
I had Trent 5 times in the open. I had Trent 5 times in open field. I tackled him 4. The one time.
don't
And
do
you
that.
slid to the
It's on there. It's on
We
there.
go to yeah, he was in the middle of the field. It was middle of the field. I missed him.
The game-winning touchdown.
Nah, middle of the field. I missed
All
him
we
for
want to do
sure.
is go to the
And you-
tape.
But did you try?
I just missed him.
Oh, okay. So you
It's
tried.
middle of the field. He broke through the middle, open field. I just missed him.
But did you slide? Or
Why?
did you?
I ain't never sliding. You
So
crazy?
when we had
You cut it
D-Hen
back.
on the
It's a
show,
wrap.
when we had D-Hen on the show, it was a
What you said?
conversation about what's going to happen in the hole,
It wasn't the
Yeah.
hole, Freddie T. It was the middle of the field.
the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Nah, he scored for sure.
As long as y'all lined it up, man.
Nah, I'm done.
Both of y'all went at it as long as y'all lined
Yeah,
it
he got it.
That was a year before you shut it down?
I was 2 years before.
Oh,
That was 11.
15, you were 13?
Yeah, that was 11.
Oh, 13.
Nah, he definitely scored.
I was a father of 2.
Fellas, the NBA season is about to tip off. It's almost October 22nd. How about we give our folks, the Pivot family, Fanatics Sportsbook family, our MVP picks and our finals predictions.
Shoot, I'll just jump out there, man. You got a new look Knicks, man. I mean, they went and made some amazing moves. If they can stay healthy, I think they get a shot, and I know New York fans will love it. So I'm going to go ahead and go long shot. I'm going to go with the Knicks in the finals versus Denver Nuggets.
Ooh, okay.
Jokic. He would be my MVP. He's winning this thing like he's drinking water, man. So Jokic would be my MVP, and I like the Knicks versus the Nuggets in the NBA Finals.
So for me, it's a place where we film very close to very often. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers. They said they're going to have Joel Embiid on sort of this different plan with his trainers that's going to be all the way focused on having him healthy for the playoffs. They added Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, one of the best guards in the game. So I'm going to go to Philadelphia 76ers versus, you know what? I like what the Timberwolves have done, right? You go out, you add Julius Randle because you don't want to play those two bigs like they've been playing with Rudy Gobert and Cat the entire time. Now you add Julius who can do some running. DiVincenzo is a guy that can play the wing, also defends. So I'm going to say we're going to get the 76ers versus the Timberwolves. And if we get the Timberwolves, that means Minnesota had a great year and my dog Ant-Man will be the MVP. So that's where I'm going. 76ers, Timberwolves, Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards as the MVP.
It's crazy, fellas, because the NBA know what they're doing. October 22nd, you got the Lakers because LeBron's playing the Timberwolves. And I'm with you. I'm with you on Ant-Man. I'm with you what the Timberwolves are doing. But you also have Boston, Freddie, playing New York. They're going to put out their best thing because they want us to watch their best product on the first night. Whew, I got to ride with you, RC, in the West. I like the young team. I like the Timberwolves. A year of maturity. And having Ant-Man, having Anthony Edwards doing his thing in the West. And on the East, man, I just think Boston is so superior. Yeah. I know the Bucks are going to be good. I got to bring up the Heat because they always going to mess with people and play that physical style of ball. But I think Boston goes from the East. I think Minnesota goes from the West. And the MVP, it's crazy. I got to try to ride with you, Fred. I think that big bastard with the Nuggets.
I don't think you can say that.
Bro, that slow-ass game, that slow, meticulous, meandering game, I just think he's going to bounce back. He's going to stop riding horses. He's going to stop dancing in the club. He's going to tighten up about 5 months. And he's going to get that thing.
Hey, listen, Fanatics Sportsbook got you covered. No matter what we think, it's about what you think. Because Fanatics Sportsbook got you covered with 100% profit boost token. 2 of them. They got 2 100% profit boost tokens to tip off this NBA season. So don't miss out on the action. Make sure you're on Fanatics Sportsbook. Tap in, tap in, tap in.
Hold up, limitless, niggas to me, cap pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up. On the mission, got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision, I can trust. Limitless, niggas to me, cap pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, got me up.